What happens when a national flag gets flown upside down? It seems like a simple mistake, right? Maybe someone was in a hurry. Well, it turns out the reaction to that one little error can tell you a whole lot about a country. It can reveal deep truths about its laws, its history, and maybe even its soul.
So, which is it? Is it just an accident? Something to be quietly corrected and then forgotten? Or is it a deep, profound insult that demands a serious response? The answer, you'll see, changes completely depending on where in the world you happen to be standing.
And this isn't just some thought experiment. That quote, it describes the actual reaction to an incident in Penang, Malaysia. We're not talking about a few angry comments online. This was a full-blown controversy, and it really shows you just how high the stakes can get. So let's start right there, with the incident in Penang that set this whole thing off.
That's not an exaggeration. The shop owner was actually arrested. All it took was a 21-second video clip of the upside-down flag going viral online. Suddenly, police were launching an investigation under several different laws. Officials made it very clear this was a serious offense, and it had to be dealt with to make sure it never, ever happened again.
An arrest for an upside-down flag, that sounds pretty severe, doesn't it? But is that the norm? Is that how it's handled everywhere? Well, let's compare this to how other countries handled the exact same mistake. The short answer? No, not even close.
What's considered a police matter in one country is barely a blip on the radar in another. Let's look at some direct comparisons to see what I mean.
Okay, so in Malaysia, an upside-down flag leads to arrests and a police investigation. Now, compare that to Burbank, California, where a city park flew the U.S. flag upside down for an entire week. The official response? They basically just said it was an honest mistake made by new staff. No police, no investigation, just a quick fix and an apology. And this divide gets even clearer when you look at these cases. In Hong Kong, when an upside-down flag was spotted on a government building, it kicked off a formal apology, an investigation, and staff were reprimanded. But in Yorkshire, England, a totally different story. An elderly couple made the same mistake, and someone sent them a rude, anonymous letter. You know what happened? Their neighbors rallied around them, defending the couple and calling the letter writer's overreaction pompous.
So what on earth explains these wildly different reactions? The first and maybe biggest piece of the puzzle is found right in the law books. The law itself determines whether this kind of act is protected or punished.
And the legal differences are stark. In the US and the UK, there are basically no criminal penalties for misusing the flag. In America, it's actually protected as a form of free speech. But then you look at Malaysia, where it's an offense under several acts that can lead to fines or even prison. And then there's China. 3 years. That's the potential prison sentence in China for intentionally desecrating the national flag. That one number tells you almost everything you need to know about the legal seriousness attached to the flag in some parts of the world. This isn't just about showing respect, it's a criminal offense with incredibly severe consequences. But, laws don't just pop up out of nowhere. They grow out of a country's unique history, its political climate, its culture. So to really get to the why behind these reactions, we have to look deeper than just the legal code. And it really boils down to these key factors. A nation's history plays a huge role, especially if there's been trauma or a long fight for unity. The political climate is also crucial. Is patriotism something enforced by the state, or is it a matter of your own personal expression? And finally, what are kids taught about the flag in school? Are they taught to revere it without question, or are they taught to think critically about symbols?
For a really powerful example of this, just look at Saudi Arabia. Their flag isn't just a national symbol, it's a holy object. It features the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. And what that means is that the flag itself is a sacred text. So any misuse, like say printing it on a soccer ball that could be kicked around, isn't just disrespectful, it's seen as blasphemous.
And history can work in the exact opposite way too. In Japan, the national flag became heavily associated with wartime imperialism and extreme nationalism.
So after World War II, this created a kind of cultural ambivalence, a complicated relationship with overt patriotism. And because of that, even today, an accidental misuse of the flag would likely provoke a much, much smaller reaction than in some of its neighboring countries.
Okay, so when we put all these pieces together, the laws, the culture, the history, what have we really learned? What does a simple upside-down flag truly reveal about a place?
It seems to reveal two fundamentally different philosophies of what national strength even means. On one side, you have enforced reverence. This is the idea that national unity is fragile and has to be protected by law, which means symbols must be respected. On the other side, you have tolerant resilience. This is the idea that a national identity is strong enough to handle dissent, even disrespect, and that protecting individual expression is what really matters.
So, is there a middle ground? One Malaysian public figure, Mujahid Yusufrawa, suggested a different approach. He argued that instead of anger and punishment, these incidents should be handled with education and guidance, a way to actually build understanding instead of just creating more division and hostility.
And that leaves us with this final, really critical question to think about. What is the true measure of a nation's strength? Is it how fiercely and aggressively it protects its symbols? Or is it in how confident it is in its own identity, so confident that it can tolerate their misuse? Something to chew on.